Hello, beautiful souls. It's Dr. Danny, physician astrologer. Today, we're going to dive into the first house and the seventh house of astrology by analyzing the concepts of projection and reflection. I bet you didn't know that there was a part of yourself that you can't even see. Yes, there is. We all have it. In fact, I was quite surprised to find it. And when I dove really deep into this topic, I was like, wow, okay. The people that trigger me are reflecting energy back to me that I don't see within myself. What a powerful concept to sit with. So we're going to look at that today. I don't have a ton of announcements today. It's just for content. This will be the second installment in a series of six. The first one was the 12th and the sixth house, karma and enlightenment. So if you haven't seen that yet, the link will be below. Please check it out. These will be in a playlist for all to view. So let me share my screen and we'll get into it. Okay, friends, the self that you don't see. Let's get into this. So yeah, there's an aspect of us that we don't see, but is so instinctual and so part of who we are and what we do that others will see it. And many times the parts that are hidden to us are reflected back to us through other people. And and it comes with a heightened response. So in other words, what we see in other people that trigger us, what we see in other people that we absolutely adore and love and crush on is also part of that self that we do not see. And so we're going to just dive into this concept and look at it real closely and see if we can make any sense of this. At the end of this presentation, you will be able to define projection and define reflection, just in terms of spiritual definitions. You will be able to examine both in the context of the first and the seventh astrological houses, and you should be able to locate and read the seventh house rulers. So, quick little teaching. Real quick before I get started, I just wanted to thank everybody that has become a channel member to this channel. I'm so grateful for all of you and excited to keep moving forward with our research and our studies. If you decide to join the channel, we meet once a month, right around the new moon, just to go over the current astrology, integrate any events that have been impacted by the astrology, as well as examine our own natal charts for further information. So it's only $4.99 a month. You can cancel anytime. So I encourage you to join and just check us out. Also, content like this usually will go first to the members. So here's a little quote to get us started. Thou thyself art thy only friend. Thou thyself thy only enemy. There is no other enemy but this self of mine. No other friend by myself. So, in other words, Swami Vivekananda said, you are your only friend and your only enemy. And once you realize this, the concepts of projection and reflection make so much sense. So, what is projection? We hear this all the time. Oh, they're projecting. They're just, they've got their own thing going on, and it's not you, it's them. And that's a very valid statement because projection is casting aspects of ourselves outward without awareness. We don't even know we're doing it. It is the unconscious expression of qualities we live so fully we cannot see them. Others will recognize our projections more easily than we do. And it's not necessarily deception, like we sort of poo-poo it and look down on it, but it's just something people do when there's a part of themselves that they don't fully understand or have integrated. And we discover our projections only when they're mirrored back to us through others, which is why others is so incredibly important. So why do we have this aspect to ourselves? What does this mean? Why do we come with a set of projections and energies that we don't even know about ourselves? Well, it's because of the position of the first house. It's a part of our chart that we don't see because we're standing in it. So it's the aspect of the self that are too close to perceive directly. Consciousness externalizes these qualities so we can encounter them in material form. So whatever's hidden inside becomes visible when mirrored back to you from the outside. Projection creates relationship so that we can grow by seeing ourselves through the eyes of others. So it's not a flaw, okay? It's not something people are doing on purpose. It's just they don't see, they haven't seen yet. But it is a way for the soul to recognize itself in this dance of duality. So, how does projection actually work? Well, when you feel a strong reaction, irritation, anger, admiration, even envy, it often signals a projection. And this is the first clue you can have. You don't even have to interact with the person, you can just have a reaction to them. So, what we dislike in others usually points to qualities we deny in ourselves. Now, this is so true. This is like the stance that you have to take if you're a public person like myself. I'm going to say things that some people don't like, just inherently find distasteful, ugly. They don't want to hear it. It makes them angry. And that's not the intention. Obviously, when I speak, I want to speak with love. I want to show you, the secrets to spirituality and how to move through the world in bliss and harmony. But some people aren't going to want to hear that. And so the statement, oh, it's not me, it's them, is 100% true, because what they're doing is they're projecting onto me their qualities in themselves that they either don't like, love so much that they just can't see. And I do the same thing, people that I'm crushing on, or that I love, or that I envy, or that I can't stand. It shows me qualities I have, but have not yet owned. And what you will notice with relationships is you get repeating patterns of people or situations. And you get old enough, or you do it often enough, and you will start to see, oh man, this person acts exactly like this person I knew 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. The exact same. Why do I keep attracting these people? It's because there's something in you that you haven't integrated yet. Right? So the emotional charge is the clue. This is when you will first know something's up. The first time you have a strong opinion about somebody, don't project onto them. Keep it into yourself and just go, okay, what about them is triggering me? And not to say blame yourself, but like literally what's unintegrated in you? Why can't you just you know, not care at all about what that person says or does? Who cares? Like, let them go live their life. Right. So we know we're projecting when our reactions to others feel bigger than the situation itself. Now, here's what's fun about astrology. Each planet that we work with projects its nature outward through an instinctive action. So, whatever house the planet is sitting in is considered that house's first planet, and it shows how it casts that projection. So, you could also look at the first house of your chart. This is where you cast your projections outward. The seventh house of a planet or of a chart shows how that projection is reflected back. Now, projection is lived so fully, we may not see it as ours. And reflection reveals the hidden self through the mirror of others. So what's reflection? Okay, what is this that other people are doing for me? Well, it's the return of our own energy through others. It's the mirror that reveals what we cannot see directly in ourselves. Reflection transforms unconscious projection into conscious recognition. That's key there. So if we didn't have this projection reflection energy, whatever we're unconsciously projecting, it hits someone else and it's mirrored back to us. So now we can consciously recognize that energy. And it's nothing to feel bad about. Like when you have a revelation of a reflection, that's good. That means you're growing. That means you're evolving. Showing the qualities of your hidden self, the qualities that you deny, and the gifts that you haven't owned yet. So the reflection is sacred because it dissolves the illusion of separation and the concept of through you, I see me. So reflection is how the soul recognizes itself in the mirror of the other. And finally, just to hammer it home, reflection reveals the self we cannot see directly. It's other people are our mirror. It transformed that unconscious projection into conscious awareness, and it teaches us to integrate denied, hidden, or unowned qualities. And it dissolves the illusion of separation between self and other. So working with reflection, notice strong reactions, in yourself or even in others. What in them belongs to me? Right? Claim the gifts you admire in others as your own potential. This is jealousy and envy right here. So when you have a strong reaction to something somebody is doing, you might feel it, well, they don't deserve the reward for what they're doing, because maybe in your eyes, you didn't see them working hard enough. Or maybe you think that they're just too pretty to deserve all that they have worked for. that you have no right to think that about someone else, regardless of what it is they actually did or didn't. What this is showing you, jealousy, envy, when you feel that in your own heart, is that you have these same gifts. You've just been ignoring them. So acknowledge the traits that you resist in others as shadows seeking integration. Also, the same thing of people you can't stand. Like there's people, that I would watch on YouTube that would just rub me the wrong way. And then I'm like, well, why am I watching them? Let me own that. Let me pull that back to myself and forget about that. I don't need to be triggered. It's not necessary. I can just own that trait and move on. So you see relationships, even observations as teachers, and every reflection expands your own self-awareness. And just like with the first house energy and projection, each planet will reveal its truth through reflection by analyzing the energy, either seventh house in your chart or seventh house from the planet. And it will show you how that energy is mirrored back. We'll do some examples with my own chart here in a moment. So reflection transforms unconscious projection into awareness. Through reflection, hidden qualities are integrated, and reflection dissolves separation and returns the planet itself to wholeness. So just to sum it up, projection is expression, reflection is recognition. So let's dive into astrology a little bit with these concepts in mind and discuss the first house. There's so much out there, man. You can go to the Astrology podcast with Chris Brennan and spend about 7 hours analyzing the first house and the ruler of the chart and where the chart is and the ruler of the chart ruler to get an idea of what the first house projects out there. So the first house is where your most invisible projection is most visible. It shows your body, your identity, your instinct, and your presence. And here, the self acts without awareness or effort. I always try to read the rising sign first, the first house, because this is the vibe that you literally put out there into the world when you're connecting with other people. Like as soon as you move out there and people perceive you, your first house energy, constellation, planets, anything on your ascendant is going to have that vibe around it. And it's so instinctual. It's so part of who you are, body, identity, instinct, that you don't even know you're doing it sometimes. And so the first house will literally reveal what you live, but do not see. And so, in other words, this is the source of your projections. And the seventh house across from your chart is the source of your reflections. So, seventh house is where reflection is most visible. It shows partnership, balance, and the mirror of other. And here the self is revealed through relationship. So, the seventh house helps us uncover that hidden self we cannot see alone. This is so important because this is why we have relationships. This is why relationships are such a big part of our chart. So often it happens that people will report that they didn't know themselves until their partnerships mirrored the reflection back to them. And when it comes to relationships, you absolutely want someone that mirrors back to you the best part of you. Because that's what you want to grow. That's what you want to develop. That's what you want to evolve into. So first house planets. The first is the planet's instinctive projection. If you think about, let's say you take any planet, doesn't matter where it is in your chart. Let's say, so for example, I have Sun in the third house. So if I want to think about my Sun's projections, then I'm going to go into my Sun in the third house, and I'm going to turn the third house into my Sun's first house. So I hope that makes sense. So whatever house that planet is sitting in becomes that planet's first house, right? It's not your ascendant anymore. If you're looking at the planet's projection and reflection, and you can analyze any planet's projection and reflection wherever they sit in your chart, you turn that into that planet's first house. Venus is in my second house. So the first house becomes Venus's second house. Jupiter's in my 10th house. So if I want to examine Jupiter's projections and reflections in my life, the 10th house now becomes my first house. And we see the chart through Jupiter's eyes. And whatever is across the chart from Jupiter in the natal fourth house becomes Jupiter's seventh house. We'll look at charts. This will make more sense. So projection here is lived so fully it is unseen, and true awareness comes only when the mirror is recognized. So each planet has a blind spot about itself and the energy that it projects. Same thing with the seventh. The seventh is the planet's sacred mirror. So if we're looking at my sun in the third house, the reflections that my sun will receive will be in the ninth house. Capricorn, ninth house. My moon's over there. So my sun and my moon, I was born on a full moon. So my sun's projection is my energy from my moon, and my sun's projection. So the reflection comes from my moon and the projection is from my sun. If I wanted to analyze it from my moon's perspective, then my ninth house would become the first house of my moon, and the third house would become the seventh house of my moon, where the sun lives. Okay, so you see, there's this balance, there's this ability to bring the two into a whole through reflection and projection. So here's some practical steps that you can do as we work through the chart example that I have. You can run your own chart, tropical, constellational, Vedic, I don't really care. Find your first and seventh houses in your natal chart and discover what those constellations are. So for me, my first house is Taurus. My seventh house is Scorpio and Ophiuchus. Okay. So now I need to examine, well, what's in those houses? What's in those constellations that sit on those key angles in my chart? Is the sun there? Is the moon there? Is the chart ruler there? Those are the three big ones that you want to look at. And I'll show you in a second how to get your chart ruler. What planet rules that house? I'm going to show you that too. Because the ruler of the first house sign is your chart ruler. So if you have Aries on your ascendant, Mars is your chart ruler. If you have Gemini on your ascendant, Mercury is your chart ruler. If you have Taurus on your ascendant, like I do, Venus is your chart ruler. Okay. If you have Scorpio and Ophiuchus, you get some choices, but if you want to do the traditional analysis, you would just use Mars. Okay. Sagittarius is Jupiter. Pisces is either Neptune or Jupiter, whichever one you want in terms of house or sign rulership. So let's look at this real quick. Let's review this. So like I said, Aries is Mars, Taurus is Venus, Gemini is Mercury, Cancer is the moon, Leo is the sun, Virgo is Mercury or Venus. I like Venus. Libra is Venus or Mercury. I like Mercury. Scorpio is the traditional, Mars is the traditional ruler. You can also use Pluto. Ophiuchus is in the same part of the sky as Scorpio. So Mars could be the traditional ruler for this sort of 12 house analysis. And that's perfectly fine. It still works. You could use Chiron as well. Sometimes people use Jupiter for Ophiuchus. It's really just up to you, whatever really resonates with you. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, sometimes Pluto. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn traditionally, but Uranus is the modern ruler, and Pisces is Jupiter traditionally, with Neptune as the modern ruler. So we have some options when we get past Libra for these more spiritual constellations. So you can take that. I put it graphically for you so that you could sort of see how it works with the assignments. Here we have Sun and Moon. Here we have Mercury with Gemini and Virgo, Venus with Libra and Taurus, Mars with Aries and the Scorpiucus energy, Jupiter with Sagittarius and Pisces, and Saturn with Aquarius and Capricorn. And here the smaller planets are the more modern rulers if you wanted to try to see how those resonate with you. Okay, so those are the chart rulers. This is my actual chart. So you can see here with Taurus rising, Venus is my chart ruler. And so what we're going to do is the same thing we did in the first series with first video with the 6th and the 12th houses. We're going to do an analysis of my first and 7th house and see where my projections and reflections live. And then we will analyze the rulers of those houses and see what their projections and reflections are and get a really good idea of what could actually be unseen in my life, as well as what I do, what I can do when things are reflected back to me that, I didn't expect. And we can do this with your chart too. If you need a reading, if you want to sit down and chat with me about your chart and about what all this means. And it's really good too. Like if you're struggling with relationships or repeating patterns, this video should help you really analyze that. You might have an aha moment where you literally are like, okay, now I understand why I attract the kind of people that I do, or why I am attracted to them, why certain people repulse me as well. And it's very clear for me. I can share with you. I can be vulnerable and share with you as we get through these readings what I discovered in doing this analysis. Obviously, this was years ago, but there's still so much to be found out. You can dive deep for hours into the placements in your own chart. So I have Venus is the ruler of my first house. The South Node sits there. And Venus is also the chart ruler because whatever is in your first house is whatever rules that sign rules the entire chart. This is the only special signification for the first house for that constellation. And then, of course, in the seventh house, I've got Neptune and North Node, and I will use Mars as the ruler of this space of my sky. So you see how I got that? We went from the chart rulers, the sign rulers here. We looked at the first and seventh house and we brought in Venus and Mars. And so now we can look at where Venus and Mars are. But before we do that, let's just read my projection reflection energy, see what that says. And there's a lot more to this, but it's really, really profoundly and spooky accurate. So I'm going to label Venus as my significator of projection and Mars as my significator of reflection. It's interesting. These two were my significators of karma and enlightenment as well, if you look back at the first video. So Mars and Venus play very, very crucial roles in my chart for these two axes at least. So my projection, I'm Taurus rising with K2. I project steadiness, embodiment, and grounding. With K2, here I feel detached from my own identity. What feels natural to me is often invisible to myself. Absolutely. Like, I've never been one to like worry about what people are perceiving when I'm moving around physically. Like when I'm engrossed in an activity like studying or running or swimming, I'm in my own head. I don't even care if people are watching me. It doesn't even matter. But there's an energy that I will be projecting outward that I don't even realize. So even though I project steadiness, embodiment, and grounding, I don't always feel this way. This is not something that I'm always connected to in a way because of the detachment that K2 puts in my first house. I am not my body, and I know that. And so the reason I'm not so tied up into my physical presence is because I'm already steady. I'm already embodied. I'm already grounded. I don't have to work on that. And so I project it, even though in my mind, there is still so much to be worked on in terms of grounding and embodiment and being more and more steady. With my seventh house, this is where it gets really interesting. So Scorpio and Ophiuchus. So I have found that the patterns of relationships in my life, especially before I met my husband, were these types that were intense rule breakers, people that didn't really care about what others thought of them. They were brave, they were sexy, they had a skill or a talent that just completely enthralled me and, you know, took me to the heights of arousal. You know, there's this just sort of magnetic attraction. It feels fated and special to me when I find myself connected to someone. But what happened, what would always happen is I would be so head over heels or crushing on somebody, and then they would ghost me or they wouldn't be into me. Or we'd have a connection and I'd take it way far. Like it means so much more than it actually did. Like it means to me more than it did to them. And so I would attract these patterns like over and over. Like, why am I so attracted to people that have no interest in me? And why do I attract people that are just not good for me? you know? And it's because of this. It's because I didn't see that, because I didn't see my own magnetic presence. I didn't see my own intensity, my own ability to transform and initiate, my own mystical qualities that are so wonderful. So every relationship I had helped me grow until I found my husband, who was literally just held up a mirror to me of a version of myself that I didn't think could exist. So this is the power of relationships, because when you get the right mirror standing in front of you, showing you the highest version of yourself, nothing can stop you, especially if you want to learn about yourself and know about yourself. So the integration, I project stability that others can rely on, and I reflect intensity that uncovers my hidden depths. The mirror shows me my own power and mystical vision, And integration comes when I embrace both my stability and the ability to transform. So you can do this for yourself. I mean, I can't really read my own chart. So I went ahead and I explained all of this to my chat GPT and I put this in here and I almost cried because I was like, wow, this is spot on. It just brings words to what I feel I need to express for you guys to understand the power of this first and seventh house dynamic. That it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to find the perfect mate. It simply means that you have to understand what you're projecting. And when you see patterns of reflection in the field, that means there's something that you haven't integrated yet. And once that's integrated, you can't be stopped. Like there's nobody that's going to take more energy from you than you can give. Your partnerships will be more equal, more loving, more compassionate, more understanding. So we can do further. That's basically the technique. You look at your first house, seventh house, the planets in it. Then you can look at the rulers, which we're going to do right now, and see if those rulers can give you any more insight or depth. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to find the rulers in my first and seventh house, and then I'm going to analyze the first and seventh houses of those planets. So here we are again, back with Mars and Venus. We're going to take Venus as my significator of projection. What Venusian qualities am I projecting out there? Well, look at that. Okay, so now we can change Venus's natal position of the second house to Venus's first house. So this is Venus's first house. She's ruled by Mercury in Cancer. Her projection energy is from here. It starts here in the natal second house, and the reflection back is from the seventh house in Sagittarius, which is ruled by my Jupiter. So 10th house themes are going to reflect back to my natal Venus what she needs to create. Energy around the higher mind, spirituality, long distance travel, new and strange places that can transform her are reflected back to her. So she'll, best I could probably compare to this might be where I will see somebody planning a trip to Egypt and I get jealous. I get jealous because I know I'm supposed to go there one day and to sit in the temples and to sit in the pyramids and to really kind of download and absorb that energy. Like that's something that Venus really wants to do. And so seeing somebody else going and doing it might make this Venus feel like she's missing out because she's not on that trip. Okay. So then I have to say, well, okay, I can create a trip to Egypt if I wanted to, when I want to, and with whom. It's certainly something that this Venus can do, being in Gemini with Saturn in in the second house. Like this is a very capable Venus. So I project this ability to be capable and to be a leader and to be able to manifest things. But at the same time, there's still a longing there in that Venus for more, for the next thing, for what's beyond the horizon. And so there's always a restlessness here with this Venus because of this projection. So you see how you can do Venus's projection and reflection, and you can kind of figure out where you need to integrate those energies. Just a short example. All right, let's look at Mars. So Mars is my significator of reflection. And again, it ties back into Jupiter's house here. All of my significators, at least for karma and enlightenment, as well as projection and reflection, seem to echo themes of transformation and the public space. So Mars now in my natal fourth house becomes the first house of Mars. So this is a very dynamic, very boisterous energy of projection for my significator of reflection, because Mars is going to be the energy, like soulmates, relationships, sexual energy. That's all very much tied to my seventh house. These people are people that I am really, really attracted to on a soul level. Like it feels deeper and bigger and karmic for me when I have an attraction energy. And so the projection is, how does that show up in your public space? So the public perception of me with this kind of attraction reveals energy that I need to reflect back and integrate. So hopefully that makes sense to you. You guys can, work with your own charts, work with the energy of projection and reflection. You only have to do the first step. You don't necessarily have to go deep into the planets that are the significators. You can just do this step where you look at your first house and your seventh house, and you can throw that energy into ChatGPT, and you're going to get a projection, a reflection, and a path to integration. This is so easy to do. So you can just do that. And then if you want to go deeper and you realize that the ruler of your ascendant is a planet that you really want to discover more about, you can take this technique, move to wherever that planet is, and then analyze that planet's projection and reflection. It may help you more deeply understand your own tendencies and the side of you that you just don't see. So you can do that. So the key points from this talk is that relationships reflect the parts of ourselves we cannot see directly. Partners become mirrors of our hidden gifts and shadows. Projection shows what we live unconsciously, and reflection reveals what we must integrate consciously. Every single relationship that you have with another is an initiation into greater self awareness. So, thank you so much for listening. If you all enjoyed the content, I encourage you to give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're lurking. If you're already subscribed and you're interested in becoming a channel member, give it a try. We have a good time. This is a beautiful community. I don't really have to moderate any of those people. They're all so brilliant and eager to learn and have some amazing stories on their own journeys. So I encourage you to hook up with us. If not, you can join the Fellowship of 13 Signs. The link is below. That's a Facebook group that is private. So the only people that are advertising in there are other astrologers. A lot of people will put up updates every day or every few days. I'm always making announcements for my videos over there. So please feel free to join us over there. That's all I have for you guys today. So thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye now.